Now, Nigerian football fans have been celebrating a remarkable comeback by their national women's team to claim the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. The Super Falcons fought back from 2 goals down to beat host Morocco 3-2 in Rabat. Now, the win confirms Nigeria as the most successful women's team in Africa, having won 10 of the 13 rounds of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations.
After hosts Morocco took an early lead, Nigeria's nail-biter gave way to celebration on the streets of Rabat. Inside the stadium, the Super Falcons' struggle to clinch their historic 10th victory took fans on an emotional roller coaster.
It's so good.
Nigeria!
Exactly. It was tough at the beginning. We lost hope, but it's beautiful. We made our comeback and we stood out. And now, what the 10th? Oh my God, these are 10th time. And we're great. Super Falcons. We're good, man.
It was a hero's welcome for the team on their homecoming in Abuja. Lifting the trophy for a 10th time was a personal triumph.
Very happy and excited. The team is happy and we're so
A confirmation of the fans' faith in the Falcons and a promise of things to come.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No be beans. Super Falcons. They're super for a reason.
At any point, at any time, Nigerian women can compete across the globe, which is, very important. And it means the women need more empowerment. They need more support because you can see anything they touch turns to gold.
But alongside the praise, critical voices say women's soccer needs pay parity more than a presidential reception.
I have been a consistent advocate for parity in pay, because what these girls have been able to achieve today, the kind of trophies they've gotten to us, we've not seen that with the male team. And it is the same 90 minutes that these girls play. It is the same extra time they also play. So why do you distinguish between the male and the female?
But for now, for fans and team alike, it's about one thing: celebrating the Cup and the Super Falcons' continental dominance.
All right, let's talk sports with Biola Solis Chukwu. She's a freelance sportscaster from Lagos, Nigeria, beaming with all smiles. Hello, Biola. Hashtag Mission X has been accomplished. Nigeria now holds 10 out of the 13 editions of WAFCON. How big a deal is this achievement?
10 out of 13, like you said, is major. I mean, it shows how dominant the Super Falcons are in African football, that's women's football in Africa. In 2022, it wasn't so great. It was actually the Super Falcons' worst edition so far in the WAFCON, coming fourth. But, it's good to see them bounce back again. It's big for Nigeria. It's big for women's football in Africa and Nigeria especially.
Right, no doubt. I mean, how have they been received back home in Nigeria?
The reception has been massive, really. Probably the best, probably the biggest I have ever seen it. It was literally the day after the Women's Africa Cup of Nations that the Super Falcons landed in Abuja, the capital of Nigeria. They were received by the president. They have been given all sorts of gifts, from national honors of OON to flats in Abuja to $100,000 cash for each players. And they even had a concert to wrap it all up. It's been incredible. I mean, I think they deserve all the accolades, all the love, all the gifts. But, there's so much to talk about surrounding that.
Right. Very well deserved. I got to say, I'm a bit jealous. I mean, 3-bedroom house, $100,000. Most of them are sorted for life. But look, behind all the pomp and pageantry, there are still major issues with women's football in Nigeria, aren't there? I mean, what must the government and other stakeholders address urgently?
Like you mentioned, there are so many issues. And while it's good to see the Super Falcons receive a lot of money and a lot of flats, I just keep wondering, if we multiply the $100,000 each player is receiving and, calculate all of it, it's running into billions of naira when you convert it. And if we had probably used all of those monies to develop women's football in Nigeria, It will probably be better now. I mean, we don't have a very successful women's league, I must say, and the grassroots is suffering bitterly. So all of those monies can go into that. I think we need to consider a lot of facilities, putting our league in order as well. I think Morocco, I just have to say this, are a testament to how you can invest in women's football and reap from it. In 2019 or 2020 is when women's football development there really started. And look at it 5-6 years on. The Moroccan women's national team have played only 2 Women's Africa Cup of Nations and reached the final in both editions, played the Women's World Cup for the first time and made it out of the group into the round of 16. That is because investments were made. When you invest in women's football, it will thrive, and that is really, really how it is. It should be in Nigeria, despite playing the World Cup 9 times, despite winning the Women's Africa Cup of Nations 10 times now. It is still not great at home. Imagine what it would be like if from the grassroots women's football is taken care of. We'd probably have won a World Cup by now.
Yeah, most likely. Very valid point there. Grassroots football definitely needs a lot of investment, because if you think about it, with all these challenges, the Super Falcons are obviously doing something right? Winning 10 out of 13 editions. How are other African nations faring overall?
Oh, I think women's football in Africa is growing, to be honest. The level of the football, the quality has increased tremendously, especially from this WAFCON. I saw teams like Botswana, like Algeria, push the Super Falcons of Nigeria. I haven't seen that much competition in a while. We saw Ghana returning to the Women's Africa Cup of Nations after a long time, bringing a new team, a new coach, almost everything new, and then coming third, defending champion South Africa in the third place match. So it has really grown. The quality of football, it has grown. We are seeing, maybe some prize monies increase as well, but there is obvious growth in women's football in Africa.
Right. I mean, cash plays a key role in all of this, as you just ended by saying. On the continental stage, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, has doubled the winners' prize money. The total prize money to be distributed among participating teams has also increased by 45% or so. But is that enough?
When you look at it, you say, oh, wow, it's $1 million now for the winners. And, it used to be $500,000. But when you compare that to the AFCON, that's the men's version of the tournament, where the winners win about $7 million, that is a huge disparity. It is still very, very far away. However, we are grateful for the progress, but more should be done, more can be done. And yes, I hope to see that from the next edition, which is just next year anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's also been an interesting debate about calling the competition WAFCON instead of just AFCON. I mean, we don't call, the men's competition MAFCON, do we? Right. So should we just be calling everything AFCON? What do you think?
Well, I think we should definitely know where the difference is, and I'm fine with us calling it the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. I want to see the women there. I need the women to be screamed out loud. So I think I'm fine with that, really, to be honest.
Fair enough. I guess it's less an issue with the name and more about what really goes into the development of the sport. But, the tournament was postponed from last year to this year. It also clashed with the UEFA Women's Euros, and many stadiums in Morocco were only part full. Why is the women's game in Africa overall struggling to get the attention it deserves?
Well, like you said, it was postponed from last year, and that is why in 2025 we are still calling it the Women's Africa Cup of Nations 2024. And like you mentioned, it did clash with the Women's Euros, and it would have been nice to see both tournaments get their own different attention at different times of the year. And I think it also affects next year's championship as well, because in less than a year, about 9-10 months is when we'll be having the next Women's Africa Cup of Nations. We need to understand that even though we don't like to talk about it, women's football in Europe is still bigger than the one in Africa. So if any tournament is going to be given more attention when they are happening at the same time, the Women's Euros will definitely be that. I think there's just this general perception that men's football is bigger, men's football is more entertaining, more fun, and that is why women's football can be overlooked sometimes. And that all of that is truly a lie. I think people who mention all those things are people who do not watch women's football and have not paid attention to it. So, yeah, those are not true. Women's football is the same, fun, entertaining. Women's football is not slow, as a lot of people like to say. Women's football, if you invest in it, can thrive also. And I think this Women's Africa Cup of Nations should even should make all of that obvious, really.
Right. Look, Biola, just to be clear, the fact that Nigeria was first, won the competition, and Ghana was third doesn't mean Nigerian jollof is better than Ghana jollof. Just to be clear, we agree, right?
We definitely don't agree. No matter what happens, even if Ghana win the next edition or the next 10, Nigeria jollof takes it forever.
Yeah, well, the viewers know the truth. They know the best jollof. But we'll leave it here. Biola Solis Chukwu, freelance sportscaster from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.